the Secretary of State in 2019. That was the first time that the U.S. government clarified that the Mutual Defense Treaty can be applied in the South China Sea. So, you know, you know, without going into details kasi alis that's his cardio, I would also like to highlight that the transparency effort of the Philippine government is also anchored in protecting our interests na hindi tayo dependent sa isang bansa lamang. The transparency initiative that we're doing is to create awareness to the international partners who are protector of the rules-based order. We have to make sure that across Europe, Japan, Australia, and the entire world, to include India, that there is this one country that is intentionally and blatantly violating the international law. I've always been mentioning this. The transparency efforts allow the international community to understand that our fight in the West Philippine Sea is not just for us Filipinos. It's not just for our own sovereignty. It is a fight for everybody that wants to preserve the rules-based order. Otherwise, we're going to go back to the system before the First and Second World War that might justifies whatever actions that they can do. And that is what we're doing right now. The mere fact that we launched transparency efforts 2 years ago, marami ng bansa ang nakipag-ugnayan sa Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine Coast Guard, to deepen our security cooperation and to support our modernization efforts for the military. We can now hear from Germany, France, United Kingdom, and Canada as well. Even the Indian government is also supportive of our efforts. And that's another positive impact of the Transparency Initiative.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that clarification and a more positive note under the Trump 2.0 administration. Now, because Justice has to go a little bit ahead, the rest will still stick around a little bit. Siguro yung mga ibang kaibigan natin sa media, if they have questions that has to do with the legal aspects of the West Philippines disputes or even the strategic aspects, are there any questions or any reactions? Or
yeah, I think we have to be more strict in registering late birth registrations with the Register of Civil Registrar. If there is a late registration, it should not be the sole authority of the Civil Registrar to approve it. It should go to, let's say, DOJ or some other body, just to make sure that there is a counter-checking mechanism, because you've seen a lot of late registrations that turned out to be fake, and that's the entry of a lot of Chinese aliens getting Filipino citizenship. So I think that has to be strengthened. It cannot be the civil registrar himself who will decide that this late registrant should be approved. It has to be another body just to counter-check.
For that, no, ang ano natin dyan is when there is smoke, there is flame. So we do not downplay any report that is given to the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Ang AFP is just one of the players in this, no. So if you look at this, we have to approach it in a whole of government approach, no. So if you look at all of this malign influence, all of this parts and bits and pieces that form part of a grand plan, tulong-tulong ang lahat-lahat ng iba't ibang ahensya rito. So tinitingnan natin dito, katulad nitong huling national nga na iniimbestigahan natin, he got his citizenship because he married a Filipina. So nasa batas kasi din natin yun, no? So yun yung nagamit for legality of that. So what we look into on the side of the AFP are national security implications. So yun sa side namin. That's why we are fortifying our units to have this intelligence command and cyber command. Kasi nga, ito na yung modern warfare that we're facing. So we also have to marry, yung efforts ng ating AFP into the contemporary modern challenges that we face. So ito, hindi kaya ng AFP, ito lang, but together with all other agencies. Kasi nga, Bureau of Immigration kasama dito, no, 'di ba? Pati nga po yung mga birth certificates and all, they're all part of this. So hindi siya isang part lang po ang AFP to this, no. So we have to have great alliances also with the different agencies on this. And for this, nakita natin na naging mapanuri na nga tayo ngayon as we keep saying that security is everyone's responsibility. Hindi lang din government ito, but bawat mamamayang Pilipino. So hindi namin maisantabi na malaking tulong po yung reports na binibigay ng ating mga kababayan for us to really closely look into this. And kung meron pang report na matanggap ang AFP, a-actionan namin ito.
If there's a disproportionate focus based on our intelligence that certain demographics are being targeted, should we work with community leaders there? Because as we speak, there are community leaders who are saying, oh, don't target us and all. So maybe the logical solution is, let's just work together so that it doesn't come off as if we're targeting the whole community. We're just trying to look at the rotten apples here and there.
Yes or no? So this is all part of this, no? So yung transparency initiative sa amin sa AFP po, we came up with our communications plan, no? Meron tayong plan mulat. So kasama yan, we really go down to the levels of even our fishermen, kinakausap natin yan. Kaya nga itong mga part ng drones ngayon nire-report na nila, no? So through all of this, yung huling lumabas was a previous incident pa. Dahil nakita nga niya na ito na malaking usapin na to. Na yung dati, hindi naman nila nire-report because these are small incidents lang. Ngayon, they also see a bigger picture to this. So, mas malawak na rin yung understanding ng bawat Pilipino, no? And yung concern nila to be part of this. So, ang gusto talaga din natin dyan is to ignite the patriotism of the Filipino and the nationalism of every Filipino to be part of this conversation as a whole.
Are there other questions that people...
Sorry, Philippine Coast Guard.
And another question?
Sasaki from the Kyodo News, Japanese. I wish to ask...
Sa unang tanong tungkol dun sa insidente sa Palawan, yes. We have been coordinating very closely with our intelligence services, with the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, and all law enforcement agencies of government. Gaya nga nung sinabi ko kanina, because there will be announcements here in the next few days. No? Siguro what I can say right now is that there will be more arrests. And this includes what happened there in Palawan. No? Because we have ramped up our counterintelligence efforts. And because of that, we're slowly unraveling the conspiracy, no? This operation that being done by foreign actors to conduct espionage in the Philippines. No? Ayoko lang pangunahan ang National Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Justice. But yes, we are aware. No? In fact, we are part of the team that's looking into this, and that we expect more arrests in the coming days. Because when you have this type of individual arrested, this leads to another individual, no? Because these are all cells, so to speak. Okay. So the other question, the Typhoon missile system, I think the Philippine government has made very clear its position that the presence of the Typhoon missile system in the Philippines was part, of course, of the Balikatan exercises. So the purpose of that was to train Filipino troops in utilizing this. It is not for offensive purposes. No, it is primarily for defensive purposes and to ensure that the Philippines has capacity to operate such weapon system. And the Philippines has expressed its interest to buy these types of systems. In the same manner that we bought the BrahMos missile system, in the same manner that we're getting other types of weapon systems, the Typhoon is just one of those tools that we can use to strengthen our comprehensive archipelagic defense concept. And very clearly, it is for defensive purposes. No? So, as mentioned by the armed forces, this is a sovereign act. This is a decision of the Philippine government, and it is not meant for any other state. It is for the territorial integrity of the Philippines.
And quite rich for China to talk about nuclear war as well. They're nuclear submarines and they're doing intercontinental ballistic missile tests last September. Now, from the AFP perspective, and then I want to go also to Justice Carpio on this big question.
For that, no, na-mention naman ni Sir, it's all part of the comprehensive archipelagic defense concept. What we do in terms of fortifying our defenses is a sovereign act of the Philippines. And kasama lahat yan, no, is are all interconnected to one another. Our CAD-C is connected to our modernization projects. It's connected to the laws that are being passed, yung lumabas na about our archipelagic sea lanes, our SRDP. So lahat po ito is all connected to one another. So whatever we do in terms of fortifying our defenses is for us to determine and to put into play without any external entity dictating how we would do it.
Justice Carpio, how do you see the whole Typhoon drama? Do you think the Philippines should push for acquisition of those weapon systems? Do you think we're making the Chinese rightfully nervous about this? What should be the big grand strategy on this front, if I may say?
Well, we're just following what China did to the U.S. The Chinese, to prevent the Americans from sailing the South China Sea, they developed their Dauphin DF-21-22 missiles, and that could target the aircraft carriers 1,000 kilometers away. And that is the asymmetrical defense. No? Very expensive to have aircraft carriers, to develop aircraft carriers. So with this far cheaper missiles, you can deter the aircraft carriers from entering the South China Sea. We also cannot manufacture warships, but they're very expensive. It's cheaper to have BrahMos missiles or Typhoon missiles to serve as deterrent. This is a matter of deterrence, really. We cannot hope to invade China with this. We cannot hope to defeat China with this. We can only hope to deter China with this. And that's really the reason for this. Simply deterrence, not to intimidate China, because China's nuclear bombs. You cannot intimidate somebody who has nuclear weapons and you don't have. You will be wiped out. So this is purely deterrence, and that is how China should see it. We're just defending.
But Justice, there was a question: should we eventually push the Americans to extend their nuclear umbrella to us, or maybe it's too early to go that far? Because that's a big debate in Japan, from what I understand in conversations there.
Well, that goes already with the Mutual Defense Treaty, because if there is a nuclear attack on us, then the Americans will be obliged legally to support us, and the only way to, under international law, you have to retaliate with the same force that was used against you. So if it's a nuclear attack, you can respond by a nuclear attack. That's automatic under the Mutual Defense Treaty. It's because mutual defense means you can respond proportionately to the gravity of the attack.
Are there other questions? Please. We more proactively call out certain questionable behavior, perceptions, narratives, because I think we have to be honest that the Philippines is, for me, in a kind of a double Cold War, right? One is we're caught in between US and China, but the other one is that there are two major upcoming elections. I know our government people cannot say much about that, but I would start with you, Justice Carpio. How should we navigate this kind of a two-level Cold War of US-China competition and Duterte administration or Duterte versus Marcos kind of competition as we head into these elections. Because my sense is could be the first election whereby TikTok will play a very important role. We saw that in the U.S. with the swing voters going for MAGA. We saw that in Indonesia with proposed elections last year. But also, I think this is the election where we'll see a lot of discussion on West Philippines issue. We're already seeing surveys, no? Na boboto ba kayo sa mga pro-China candidates? We never had surveys like that. Also, what are the things we should do moving forward, especially with elections coming in and things getting very hot in the Philippines?
Well, there is only one country in the world that is invading us using use of force or threat of force, and that's China. It's invading our maritime zones, it's invading our island territories in the West Philippine Sea. And there is only one country that is able to support us, to help us deter China, and that's the US. So it's very clear where we should ask for help. Who should be our ally in this epic struggle to defend the West Philippine Sea? So, and in the Philippine context, you have families here. One family is allied with China, another family is allied with the US, and that is how it's being played now. So, at the moment, we are forced to ally ourselves with our former colonial master because our colonial master has no more territorial or maritime designs on our territory. It's China that has territorial and maritime designs on our territory. So I think the choice is obvious. We have to defend our maritime zones and our island territories. That's the first obligation of a state, to defend its territory, because without territory you don't have a state. And that's the way I look at it. We really have no choice but at this point to have the US as our ally, because it's the only nuclear armed country that's willing to defend us against a nuclear armed China. Thank you.
So avoid false equivalence. Just quick point, Justice Scorpio. Obviously, you and I have not been shy of being critical of governments throughout different administration. Even when you were inside government, you were critical. I think in media, in academia, we're always trained to be basta kung anong position ng government, dapat we have to check it to balance it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't criticize the government, but do you think it is also important for people to realize that we need to have, I hate to use this word, unity more than ever, right? Considering the urgency of the situation we're facing. That's why I use the term whole of nation. Whole of nation doesn't mean that we'll just be okay with whatever happens with the government. But whole of nation is also this basic understanding na may mga bagay kung saan talaga dapat magsama-sama tayo. And may mga bagay na talaga you have to have private-public partnership, and civil society has to work in tandem. I mean, this conversation is very much multi-sectoral, right? And not only interagency. What do you have to say about that, Justice? Because you're the most experienced person here. You have straddled government, civil society, and academia throughout the years.
Well, as I said, I think the government now, the incumbent administration, is on the right path, right policy as far as the West Philippine Sea is concerned. I mean, we just have to tweak some of the strategies and the tactics, but it's on the right path. We have to assert the arbitral award, we have to defend our island territories, and we have to strengthen our alliances with the U.S. and like-minded states. And we must invite our allies to sail in the West Philippine Sea, because by sailing the West Philippine Sea, they're actually enforcing the arbitral award. And we are on the right track, but we have to tweak some of these things because, like for example, arbitration, there's a reluctance to file an arbitration case. Now we have to convince the government to do that. Thank you.
So proactive. Commodore Tariela, final word. You want to borrow the other mic?
Minsan nagugulat ako kay Richard pag biglang ako na yung tatanungin, sir. Well, I think West Philippine Philippine Sea is the most unifying issue that we have right now. And the 2025 midterm election, para sa akin, this will be a litmus test on how unified the Filipinos are when we talk about the West Philippine Sea issue. Noong mga nakaraang eleksyon, we never ask accountability among the candidates how they stand or how they view the issue in the West Philippine Sea. But because of the transparency effort of the National Task Force West Philippine Sea, under the leadership of General Eduardo Año, we were able to awaken the sense of patriotism ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino. They were also asking like how ordinary Filipinos can support our fight in the West Philippine Sea. I think this coming election, this is the best way that you can support our fight in the West Philippine Sea. We have to make sure that those members of the legislative branch that we're going to elect, whether in the Senate or in the Congress, are those people who will be supporting President Bongbong Marcos in standing firm with his commitment of not surrendering a square inch of our territory to any foreign power. Huwag na tayong magboto ng mga kandidato na pro-China at susuport at hindi susuporta sa modernisasyon ng Armed Forces of the Philippines at ng Philippine Coast Guard. It will be very difficult for the AFP and for the Coast Guard, for BFAR and other government agencies to support our annual budget kung ang ilalagay natin sa Kongreso ay ang mga membro ng Kongreso at Senado na never really cared about our fight in the West Philippine Sea. So, the most important and patriotic contribution that you can do for our fight in the West Philippine Sea are elect members of the legislative branch who will be supporting our government in not surrendering a square inch of our territory. Thank you.
Mr.
Arcing premise is our right is our might. So ang sabi nga ni Jay, no, ang uniting factor ng Filipinos ngayon is the usapin ng West Philippine Sea. And with that, no, as we shift from the AFP, from the internal security operations to territorial defense, ito na yung nagiging focus natin. When we say territorial defense, it's not an outside entity coming in, but we're looking at the Trojan horse inside and trying to look at kung ano yung mga different factors that contribute to a greater grand plan, no? Kung ano lahat ito. And as the election season comes in, ito may malaking usapin dyan is our barn elections, which is a historical feat for the Philippines. And we're looking at any influence that will hamper the peaceful conduct of this. So, kasama lahat yan sa lahat ng tinututukan natin. And with this, bawat mamamayang Pilipino, parte tayo dyan as we exercise our constitutional right to have our voice be heard and have a stake on who will be leading us into our future, no? Ito lahat, we do not lose focus on the bigger challenge and the bigger picture out there. Kung ano man itong mga nangyayari internally, let's look at how it is connected to the influences that you have with the bigger challenges we have. And as one Filipino nation, kung ano man yan, pinupush natin na for the